Okay, at this point, if you're watching a chain rule video, you've probably learned the basic rules of the derivative. And up to this point, before the chain rule, if you ran into something like this, f of x is equal to the quantity 2x plus 7 squared, and you wanted to take the derivative, you would have to multiply this out. So we would get 4x squared plus 28x plus 49. And then if we wanted f prime, we would just use the power rule. We would get 8x plus 28. Well, what happens if we raise that 2 to a higher power? Well, then it becomes much more difficult to multiply that out. And that's why we have what's called the chain rule, which we're going to talk about in the next example. Okay, so what happens now if I change the 2 for the power to 11? Well, it's going to be impossible to multiply out 2x plus 7 to the 11th power. It would take forever, and to try to use the power rule on this. So this is where the chain rule comes in. And the chain rule is a way to take the derivative of a composite function. And what we mean is an inner function inside of some outer function. All right? So the chain rule says that the derivative of f of g of x is equal to f prime g of x times g prime x. So what you want to do is you want to look at your function, you want to identify what function is going inside of some outer function. And the one thing I want you to be aware of is that certain textbooks write the chain rule different ways. This f of x here that's equal to our composite function, that is not what we're going to assign when we do our parts for the chain rule, and you'll see what I mean. So you can't get confused by this. This could be anything on the outside. It could be h of x, t of x, could be y equals. That doesn't matter when we're taking our derivative here. All right, so let's first identify the inner function. Well, what looks like it's going inside of something else? Well, I see the 2x plus 7. So my g of x, I'm going to assign equal to 2x plus 7. And what's happening with my outer function? So my outer function is f of x, and it's some inner function, g of x, raised to the 11th power. So I'm just going to call this x raised to the 11th power. Okay, so now we take the derivative of both of these. So g prime x is equal to 2. F prime x is equal to 11x squared. And then what we do is we're going to get our answer by taking g of x, 2x plus 7, and we're going to plug it back in to f prime. So we get 11 times 2x plus 7 to the 10th power times g prime of x. Well, what's g prime of x? G prime of x is 2. So we get 22 times 2x plus 7 to the 10th power. Okay, in our next example, h of x is equal to sine cubed x, and we're going to use the chain rule to find h prime of x. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite h of x just in a better way for you to see the chain. That's the same thing as sine x cubed. All right, so what is my inner function? Well, it looks like g of x is equal to, it looks like the sine is the inner function, and then my outer function, f of x, would be that inner function, whatever that is, cubed. Okay, now this is what I talked about with the f of x as part of the formula. It's not related to the outer functions labeling. Okay, it doesn't matter what, that could even be f of x on the outside, like in the last example. All right, we're still going to assign f of x when we do our chain, when we break down the composite function. All right, so let's do g prime. So g prime x, the derivative of sine, is cosine x. F prime's derivative is equal to 3x squared. So we're going to take g of x, which is my sine. It has to go back in f prime. So I get h prime x is equal to 3 times sine x squared. And then to complete the chain, I have to multiply by g prime. And in this case here, g prime is cosine x. And if you want to rewrite this as 3 sine squared x cosine x, you can do that. And we have our answer. Okay, here's one a little bit different than the last problem. We're changing the inner and outer. So now the sine is going to become the outer function. A lot of times students get confused with this. So we're going to find y prime here using the chain rule. And I'm going to have, let's rewrite this as sine x squared, and that might be easier to see the inner function. Now you can see the x squared is going into the sine function, excuse me. So we're going to let g of x equal x squared, and my f of x now is going to become sine x. All right, so we take g prime of x would be equal to 2x. My f prime of x would be cosine x. So putting these together for y prime is going to equal f prime with g of x plugged in. So it's going to be cosine x squared times g prime times 2x. Okay, in our last example, we have t of x is equal to 1 over x plus 13. And we want to find t prime using the chain rule. So it looks like the x plus 13 is going into 1 over x. So I'm going to assign g of x is equal to x plus 13. And my outer function would be 1 over x in this case. So that means that g prime of x is equal to 1. And f prime x is going to equal, now remember this is the same thing as x to the negative 1. So f prime would be negative 1 x to the negative 2, which is negative 1 over x squared. Putting this together as a chain, we've got f prime with g plugged in. So that means that t prime x is going to equal f prime, negative 1 with g plugged in. So we get x plus 13 gets plugged in for the x, and we have to square it, times g prime. Well, in this case here, g prime is 1, so we have our answer. Okay, thanks for watching. I try to give you some good examples here, so please like and subscribe. Have a great day.